Horseshoes, rabbit's feet, four-leaf clovers, people have a variety of ways of giving themselves luck. Harry Potter drank liquid luck, Calvin Cambridge wore lucky shoes, and George Costanza did...
I will do the opposite. I used to sit here and do nothing and regret it for the rest of the day. So now I will do the opposite and I will do something.
No matter how luck is acquired or thought of, conventional wisdom tells us that you'd rather be lucky than good. And this applies to college basketball as much as it does, well, anything. In a postseason system that requires winning 6 high-intensity games in a row without a single misstep, the NCAA tournament is the most demanding and high-urgency postseason in all of sports. And every coach will tell you that succeeding in this blender of a competition requires some element of good fortune. As a matter of fact, good teams lose in the NCAA tournament all the time. 2018 Virginia lost to 16-seed UMBC in the first round as the tournament's top overall seed. We've seen 9 2 seeds lose to 15 seeds in the tournament, and it often seems that the so-called dominant teams we've seen in the regular season, like 2015 Kentucky, 2019 Duke, or 2021 Gonzaga, often fall short of the ultimate goal. On the other hand, lucky teams tend to have miraculous runs quite frequently. In 2019, Virginia won their final 3 tournament games on an insane amount of unusual events. Diakite's shot in the Elite Eight, Kyle Guy getting fouled in the final seconds against Auburn, and then the DeAndre Hunter 3 in the title game that got the game to overtime where they ultimately won. 2019 had a bevy of great teams outside of Virginia, like Duke, North Carolina, and Gonzaga, but not a whole lot of lucky ones. Now, this isn't to suggest that luck solely determines the success of teams in the tournament. Virginia, of course, was a number 1 seed that year, and the higher seeded teams usually tend to win the tournament. But it is true that a good team with luck on its side is extremely difficult to beat. Sometimes, though, the line between lucky and good is difficult to distinguish, and there's really no better example than this year's Providence Friars. At 24-4, Providence is in the midst of a dream season. They've already won the Big East regular season title for the first time ever, and they look to be headed for a protected seed in the NCAA tournament. Nominally, it looks like Providence is one of the best teams in the country, but taking a deeper look at the types of games they play, and it's clear that the Friars have a habit of playing close, nauseating, and nail-biting games. Of their 24 wins this season, 13 of them were decided by 7 points or less. Providence has won games this year in which they trailed by as many as 19 points, and their 5 overtime periods played is tied with UCLA and UConn for the most among teams currently in the AP Top 25. Providence tops the country in KenPom's luck metric, and shot quality also ranks Providence first as a team that is most likely to experience negative regression for the rest of the season. In fact, according to shot quality, Providence plays more like a 16-12 team rather than a 24-4 team, and that is a massive discrepancy. One record says bubble team and the other says top 4 seed. Still, it doesn't discount how impressive Providence has been in late game situations, no matter how lucky the outcomes may be. So is Providence lucky, good, or a little bit of both? Let's see if we can fully understand the Friars' divine providence. When first looking at Providence's statistical profile, there really isn't anything elite about them. They're a top 30 offense, which is good but not great in the ranks of contending teams, and their defense hovers around 90th best in the country. Per Bart Torvik, Providence is the 34th best team in the country, which is well below their record would suggest they'd be. Everything about Providence screams average in terms of their metrics, except for one thing. And to find that one thing, we have to look at the most intimidating area of the floor, the free throw line. Providence is 11th in America in free throw rate, getting around 4 free throw attempts for every 10 field goal attempts. And while they only shoot 73% as a team, they get to the line around 22 times a game. Doing some simple math, that's close to 16 points a game coming from the foul line. Not only does Providence get to the line at a phenomenal rate, but they also typically win the free throw battle against their opponents. In 28 games this year, the Friars have shot more free throws than their opponent in 24 of them. And in the types of games Providence plays, this difference can end up being massive. Outside of this though, the numbers can't really do Providence any justice. It's hard to tell the story of their triple overtime win against Xavier. You had to be there, either at the Dunkin' Donuts Center or somewhere with a working TV. In order to fully appreciate the type of season the Friars have had, you need to have suffered through and ultimately survived one of their games. They aren't the prettiest team or the most efficient, but they have heart and toughness, and that really can't be quantified. None of their players are superstars, but they all know when to step up in their own ways. This season, 7 Providence players have scored in a clutch situation, which is defined as a game under 5 minutes and within 5 points. These 7 players are also pretty diverse in terms of their individual skill sets, and they complement each other well. Nobody on Providence averages more than 14 points a game, and on any given night, any given player can step up, as the Friars have had 6 different players lead the team in scoring this year. Some nights it's big man Nate Watson, who is a load inside and nearly unstoppable if he gets the ball on the block. Watson is great at using his frame to create windows of opportunity and then hitting those windows quickly. He averages 13.7 points and 5.5 rebounds a game, and he provides physicality defensively. Other nights it's Jared Bynum, averaging 12.9 points a game and 4.5 assists per game. Bynum is an explosive lead guard who thrives in big moments. He shoots around 44% from 3 and isn't hesitant to let you know about it either. Bynum frequently makes things happen for the Friars. If Providence is letting a game slip away, it's often Bynum who makes the big plays that help swing momentum back in their favor. His presence on the floor means that the opponent never has a surefire victory. AJ Reeves is a senior who was a former top 100 recruit coming out of high school, and while he only averages 10 points a game, he's a guy who at 6'6" can get his shot off whenever he wants. He has great vertical explosion at the rim and on jumpers, and his unique release point makes his shot nearly impossible to block. Heading into the postseason, Reeves is shooting 63% from 3 over his last 3 games on 27 total attempts. And while injuries this year have hampered his production, a healthy Reeves gives Providence yet another big-time scorer and defender. Al Durham, a transfer from Indiana, averages 13 points a game and is seen as the guy Providence gives the ball to down the stretch. A quick look at his shooting numbers might confuse you, but again, just like Providence as a whole, numbers can't really explain the impact of Al Durham. And also like Providence, Durham thrives at the free throw line. He's great at baiting defenders into fouls and gets to the line 7 times a game where he knocks down 85% of his attempts. And as for the 21% from 3 this season, it almost doesn't matter because he still has the reputation of being a solid shooter. He shot 38% in each of his 2 previous seasons at Indiana, and even if he's going through a slump like he seems to be this year, he's not really a guy you want to leave open either. Durham has a knack for making smart decisions at key times, and the entire roster seems to embrace Durham as their leader, which is massive for team chemistry. You also have Noah Horkler, who has been setting nets on fire all year, shooting 41.6% from 3 and hitting clutch shots along the way. And there's Justin Minaya, who also tends to hit big shots and provides solid wing defense. And Allen Breed and Ed Croswell provide bench reinforcement. This type of diversity at the end of games makes for a confident team, and their success in close games becomes a self-sustaining operation. Because Providence keeps winning in close games, they become more confident in late game situations, which in turn leads to winning more close games. The Friars are also an experienced basketball team, and remember, old wins in college basketball. In Providence's 8-man rotation, they have 34 years of college basketball experience. Yeah, if you're doing more simple math at home, that means that the average career length for this Providence rotation is over 4 years. And even in a season where a lot of teams are older due to the extra eligibility provided by the COVID year, Providence is still an outlier. In Bart Torvik's experience metric, a measure that displays how much playing experience a team has, Providence is 7th in the country and is one of only 3 high major programs in the top 20. Providence doesn't fit the profile of a typical contender. They don't have an NBA level guard, their defense is average, and they shoot just okay from 3. But honestly, what part of this season has been typical for Providence? At some point, the luck they have winning these close games has to be seen as a trend. But when do we reach that point? That's for other people to decide. But I do know that Providence has the experience, scoring depth, and poise to keep this momentum moving forward. So yeah, maybe Providence is a little bit lucky this year. But as Bruce Lee once said, you have to create your own luck. You have to be aware of the opportunities around you and then take advantage of them. And Providence has certainly done just that. What do you guys think about Providence? Are they good, lucky, or both? Let me know in the comments or on Twitter at BobbyDouglas21. And as always, thanks for watching.